Welcome, guys. This is a Meet the Teams, Lee's Air Edition. Today I have Jeff Stamps.
Good morning. I'm the regional commercial manager for a couple of different locations based out of Fresno here, and I offer insight to some other locations as well.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Doing which part?
The commercial part.
The commercial part, this will be about my 22nd year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about your background in terms of what kind of guy was Jeff in high school?
So I was one of those guys that's had a couple of different lives, but was a very good student. Was at the top of the class the whole time. That part of it was easy for me. Getting to school was difficult, but once I got there, I excelled. And I grew up in a small town, Riverdale, south of here, about 30 miles, and I think there was 85 people in our graduating class.
Wow.
So it was a small school where you knew everybody, and everybody's family knew everybody's family. And I actually got to Fresno when the very first Costco opened up in Fresno. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that Costco was a regional Seattle company. When they decided to try out another venue or to expand, they came to Fresno. That was their first one. And it's the one out on West Shaw. And I got hired on there in the tire shop. Last person on the whole opening to get hired, like a day before they opened. Started off in the tire shop, worked my way up to forklift driver and manager there, and really enjoyed my time there. Didn't really like the 2 to 10 a.m. shift that I had to work in the mornings, but I spent about 6 years there and then moved on and started doing other things.
So having that retail experience, would you say that helped elevate your customer service experience? What kind of skills did you build from working in retail?
Yeah, so I was actually on the stocking side with the store closed for most of my shift. But it's funny you should ask that, because the very last hour they would open the store, and I would get asked to come up and help box the groceries. Mainly because of my personality, I guess. But I enjoyed it. A lot of the stalkers didn't want to do that, but I relished the opportunity to go up there and meet the customers and work with the cashiers. And yeah, I remember that as being a really fun time. That is my only venture into retail was that moment in time.
So what initially did you want to make a career out of once you left high school? Because I know quite a bit of people get into college. Some people get into a trade. What exactly were you trying to pursue as soon as you finished?
So coming from I don't want to call it a broken or dysfunctional, but a different family, a single mother, there really wasn't. I noticed a lot of the guys that I work with here, especially everyone in management, went through a route of, hey, let's go through high school, let's plan for college, let's think about our career. I didn't do any of that. I never even considered college. It's just a different way for me. And I did eventually end up going to Fresno City and taking some Spanish classes and a few other things, but I was never in search of a degree in a particular career. I just like people.
And so walk me through, what did you pursue after Costco? So you went straight out of high school, you went to Costco. What else did you do afterwards?
So in full transparency, that's just the guy that I am.
Yeah.
After Costco, I was dealing with some personality things and some issues, a divorce, and I actually ended up going for a full year into a recovery program, and did my year, and then volunteered for a second year and that's where leadership began for me. I became a member of the program, and I was mentoring young men, and was some of the greatest times of my life, helping people that a lot of people had given up on. It was a very interesting time for me, and to this day I still do that to a certain degree. But I did it full time back then, and while I was doing that, one of the wonderful men here in Fresno that owned a really big company that's not here anymore, but people will recognize the name Renaissance. He was a guy that came and spoke to the guys and helped guys get jobs, etc. And he plucked me out a little early, and I went to work for him at the absolute bottom as an installation helper while I was still in the program, and it turned into install helper to install lead to install manager to operations manager to right hand man to Dave. I knew all about Lee's at that time, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I was working for Renaissance. We were probably a bigger company at that point than well, I know we were, than Lee's, but I knew about Lee's, and the owner of Renaissance decided to close shop here in Fresno and move to Virginia. And at that time, the acquisitions and merger thing that we see a lot today, because this was 30 years ago, 25 years ago, the company just dissolved, and I called Brian Lee, good friend of mine, because of their reputation.
Yeah.
And I started at Lee's the next Monday as a dispatcher because they didn't have another spot for me. And ironically, I got hired as a dispatcher. By the end of that week, I had got moved into the sales role, and I replaced a guy named Tom Howard, who is now the owner of Lee's Air and is a household name across the country. In our industry, he's very well known. So it was at the time I started at Lee's, it was a really small company. I went from Renaissance at about 70 people to Lee's that was about 10 or 11. And then I've been with Lee's for a long time, and I've watched it grow from that small, humble beginning that we just did commercial to where now we're a pretty dominant force in the industry. But I say all that to say this. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. Everything's changed here at Lee's. Everything. Every year it changes now, except for one thing. Our commitment to customers and our brand and our style of engagement with the city of Fresno and now the state of California hasn't changed. People first. Serve people, our community, and our coworkers, and having fun doing it. That's our company. How do you call it? The company
motto.
The company motto, and it's so true. I mean, before I came up here, we were downstairs right now, and the room was literally laughing so hard at things on a Friday morning as we were starting our day that just love being here. Love hanging out with you, hanging out with every member of the team, and that's a win when you can come to work and know that you're going to be able to be honest, open, free to be yourself and to serve people at the level you want to. It's not only not frowned on, it's encouraged, and able to use that same style of working with young people now. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this as well, that what do I do now? Now I do my best every day to continue to protect the brand and honor it well, but mentoring those young people, just like I've had a couple of opportunities in my past to do. I was able to do it at Costco. I was able to do it in the program. I was able to do it at Renaissance. And now I'm able to, getting a little older now, got some gray in the temples. So you're expected to now to mentor and encourage young men. And I enjoy doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. And when I first came in, I'll go into that a little bit if it's okay.
Yeah.
It was all commercial, and commercial's much, much different than residential.
Definitely. So
with commercial, I still do commercial today. I went into residential for a while, but we won't get into that. But on the commercial side, my job is to support facility managers, business owners, and be their eyes for them on top of the building in an area that, if you think about this, a home builder, there's what are some of the home builders in town? Gardner, I'm drawing a blank here, but some of the housing tracts. When the builders decide to build a housing tract, they build it all themselves, except for the HVAC, for the plumbing, and the electrical.
That is true.
Those are specific skills that they leave to the professionals, and I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but get me back on track when you can. But Lee's was good at those things. So my job is to help a customer to feel comfortable that we're going to be their eyes. So we have to be really good at reporting information. We have to be really good at diagnosing. We have to be really good at evaluating. But the most important thing that we have to be is prompt, genuine, and doing the best we can for our partners on purpose. And, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to people every day about their relationships with contractors. And, it's a lost art. You mentioned it a little while ago about we have a difficult time finding quality electricians, plumbers, and HVAC guys because
At least on the younger side.
Because I'll use you as an example. College was the thing that you wanted to do more than anything.
No. Funny enough, it wasn't. It was what my mom wanted me to do. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just say yes.
Yeah. However, I think you've come to realize now, because I know you've been here about 9 months, as you just mentioned, there's a massive career here.
Big time.
There is a career in the trades that is surpassing a lot of the candidates out there for work that have bachelor's and master's degrees that can't find as good a job as they can find in the trades. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Essential services are, if we don't have clean drinking water, people die.
Yep.
If we don't have heat for the elderly, people die. If we don't have air conditioning for the elderly, although a lot of them are really stubborn and like my grandmother who never wanted it, but it's very important that we provide those services. And if we don't have electricity to help people that need it, they can die. So yes, it's very, very important. I wasn't planning on going here, but I think I will real quick, and I think you'll see where I'm going with this. So I've been asked by a lot of the vocational schools to come and speak, to be on their boards, to offer kind of like what we're doing here, just give my thoughts on the industry. And a very important thing for anyone young out there that's considering looking at the trades, or you're at that point where we were discussing earlier, am I going to go to college? Do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to be a history teacher? And those are all great things. But in the trades, the vocational schools dominate the first step.
Yes.
And the vocational schools, they're expensive, and they promise a lot of guys, because they come to interview here, and it breaks my heart because they're promised in those schools that they're going to be able to come to a company like Lee's, and they're going to get a brand new van, and they're going to get a 6-figure salary, and they're just not ready. So I want to speak to those guys out there that are considered going to vocational school. If that's where your heart's at, do it. But I will say, preparing yourself to where when you come to interview with one of our managers here, that your personality, your resolve, your character, of all of those things shine. We want you as a person, and we'll teach you the skills, probably even better than you're going to learn in the vocational school. Because when we do hire somebody from a vocational school, we have to start them at the beginning and retrain them anyway. They have a very a very
particular system, very
baseline set of skills which we can develop.
Yeah.
But working for a company like this, everyone that is doing well here has advanced. They didn't come in. They didn't use their vocational school skills and turn that into a lifelong career. That was just an entry ticket.
Well, then just to go back to your history, right? You started working at Costco. I'm sure you learned some basic skills there, and you moved your way up slowly.
Yeah.
Of course, you didn't know what you wanted to go after, but the opportunity started coming out once you're in the right place.
Yeah.
And so, that's also something I want to add on too, right? Initially, I got hired as a videographer here. In the past 9 months, my position's elevated. And I don't mean that in a fiscal way. I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about the opportunities, the ability to network, the ability to learn from the best of the best. And just to add on one more thing, if you're going to work for a company that's going to offer you that opportunity.
Yes.
Do your research. Talk to a few technicians. If they're not happy and they're just there to collect a check, well, guess what? You're going to be the next person doing the same thing. You have to work at it. You have to work for it. You can't just expect things to be handed to you on a nice silver platter, right?
So I was just talking to somebody about this recently. I get in very early, so I get a lot of talking done in the morning. But there is nobody here at our company that is in the same position that they got hired for 5 years ago.
That is true.
Everybody has risen. Part of it's due to some pretty substantial growth, but also, we find the right spots for people. And you mentioned James earlier. James, the guy from the commercials and billboards. I hired him.
Mr. Lee, right?
I hired James as a commercial technician.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working out on commercial buildings and providing that service out there and doing that. Well, now he is our asset manager, and he's a very prominent part of our leadership team here. He takes care of all of our vehicles, and he makes sure everybody has their phones and he's a key carrier. And a key carrier, it means that you've got the trust of everyone.
Yep.
So he came from Pepsi, and he was with Pepsi for a long time and did the same thing for the entire time he was there until they laid him off.
Yeah.
He was still doing the same thing they hired him for. That doesn't happen here. So, come to a company that their history is full of the positive things like we have here, and get to work on taking care of people and serving each other. And before you know it, you'll be leading a department. Right. Well, there's been quite a few people that have launched their career out of here.
Yep.
They went out and started their own thing, and Tom's all for it. I'll give a real quick word picture here before we close. Most companies are like a pyramid. You've got a lot of guys down here that are doing the bulk of the work, and
Yep.
above them is a series of managers, and then there's a series of executives, and then there's an owner on top. Mm-hmm. That's usually the company's feeding. I remember Tom.
Are you trying to picture a pyramid scheme here?
Well, not really, but I remember Tom talking about this before when he drew the upside down pyramid.
Yeah.
What's important to him is all these guys at the top up here.
Yep.
So he's reversed it and put all of those guys out in the field. They're the ones that need
priority.
That's right. They're the ones that we need to take care of because they're out there taking care of our customers.
Yep.
And I love that. I mean, all these years later, that's never changed. Mm-mm. I led off with protecting our brand and taking care of people, and that's what that means.
Yeah.
If you don't have a happy employee, if you don't have a grounded employee, if you don't have a dedicated employee, well, then we're just not going to do a good job out there in the community. So. I don't think this is a job interview podcast, but yeah, if you feel like I'm speaking to you, that the things that we're talking about is, oh my gosh, that's me. Come see us.
Yeah.
We'll see how you fit into the system.
We'll wrap it up here, but what are three? Tell me three skills that you, because you're obviously in a high end position. So when you bring somebody in, what are three common skills that you can give to our audience and potential people that want to apply here that you really appreciate or you really, really like?
I'm old school. So if they don't have an ink pen and they got to ask me for an ink pen to fill anything out, that guy's not really prepared. So I would say I look for people that are prepared, people that have done their research. I look for people that are asking me the kind of questions that I want to hear about our company. There's the reality of life in general. There are people out there that get up every morning to go collect a check. It's okay. We have them here.
Yeah.
But we have a lot more people that get up to come down here to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And you can usually ferret that out pretty quick. Gary Vee says that it's interesting you should go into hiring because Gary Vee I just heard him say yesterday that nobody's good at hiring. And somebody tells you they are, they're lying. But you got to be good at firing. So one of the things about Lee's Air is when we hire people, there's not a lot of terminating going on here. People weed themselves out. We have a culture that we're going to expect people to move into. So I'm looking for people that in that short time in the interview that they match our culture, because we can always teach the skills, even if it takes 5 years. That's okay.
As long as they have a growth mindset, that's the first part to turning somebody into someone we want.
Yeah.
Right?
So somebody that's prepared, somebody that's a good person,
Mm-hmm.
and if you've been doing this for a while, you can usually figure that out pretty quick. See people that are more about being part of a team than getting a paycheck, and then people that are willing to learn and are willing to listen. So those are the things that I look for.
So, Jeff, appreciate you for joining the podcast.
So you did mention Michael Jordan, and next time you have me on, I'll tell you about the story when he stepped on my hand. And
We'll save that for the next one.